Daniel, what are you doing up there? His mother called. It was summer, and since Daniel was only 4 years old, there were no camps available that would accept him. His older sister Marianne, who was 8, had left for camp 2 days ago. Daniel and Marianne were extremely close, and he usually did everything with her. However, there was another reason why camps were hesitant to accept him. Daniel was quite small for his age, standing only 3 feet 5 inches and weighing just over 45 pounds. Daniel, I'm warning you, this is the last time. Come downstairs for lunch, his mother shouted again. Coming, mother. Daniel called back. He rushed down the stairs as fast as his legs would carry him. For the next few days, right around lunchtime, Mrs. Dalton, a widow for 2 years, would hear Daniel sneaking around upstairs. Every time she did, she'd call up to him. One day, however, she decided not to shout. Instead, she went upstairs to see what he was up to. As she reached the top of the stairs, she saw Daniel emerging from his sister's room. Daniel Anthony Dalton, what on earth are you doing coming out of your sister's room? Hearing his mother's voice behind him, Daniel froze. He slowly turned to face her, his heart pounding. I was looking for a toy I left in her room before she went to camp, he mumbled. Well, young man, you're grounded for the rest of the week. Go to your room now. After he retreated to his room, his mother formulated a plan to address his behavior. Ensuring his door was firmly shut, she headed to her own room to make a phone call. Hello, Dr. Lynn's office, how may I assist you? The receptionist answered. This is Mrs. Dalton. I called a couple of days ago about my son missing his sister. The situation has worsened, and I was hoping to get him in to see the doctor today instead of tomorrow afternoon, she explained. Please hold for a moment. A few seconds passed before the receptionist returned. The doctor has an opening at 3 p.m. today. Would that work? Yes, that would be perfect. Thank you, Mrs. Dalton replied. You're welcome. Have a great day, Mrs. Dalton. After hanging up, Mrs. Dalton glanced at the clock. There was only half an hour before the appointment. She knocked gently on Daniel's door and opened it. Sweetie, it's time to get ready. We're going out for a little while. Please be ready in a couple of minutes. Yes, Mother, Daniel said, his gaze fixed on the floor. The drive to the doctor's office was silent, with Daniel gazing out the window, absorbed in the new sights. When they arrived at the building, he patiently waited for his mother to come around and let him out of the car. Inside, the building felt unfamiliar. The people there didn't look like him, they seemed to resemble his sister, or at least wore clothing similar to hers. Mrs. Dalton approached a plaque and scanned it with her finger until she found what she was looking for. All right, sweetie, this way, she said, guiding him down the hall. Still scanning the room, Daniel quickly rushed over to his mother and followed her into a room marked with a plaque that read Dr. Anna Lynn. The room was smaller than the main lobby, but like the lobby, it was filled with people who seemed to resemble his sister. The receptionist looked up as the door closed and locked eyes with Mrs. Dalton. A brief moment of eye contact was all it took for the receptionist to smile and say, Go right in, the doctor is ready for you. Hello, my name is Anna Lynn. You must be Mrs. Dalton, the doctor greeted. Yes, I am, and this is my son, Daniel, Mrs. Dalton replied. Hello, Daniel, Dr. Lynn said, extending her hand for him to shake. Turning back to Mrs. Dalton, Dr. Lynn gestured for them to take a seat. You should know, the process you're asking about for Daniel is not uncommon among children of single parents. It's a 3-step procedure. What are these steps? Mrs. Dalton asked, eager for more details. The first step is simple and straightforward for both us and you. Since children at his age haven't developed a full understanding of gender, we start by hypnotizing them to regress back to infancy. We then provide everything necessary for parents to raise their child as a healthy baby girl until the first birthday. The second step involves the parent raising the child as a girl, and when the girl reaches puberty, we perform gender-affirming procedures, including the creation of new organs and estrogen therapy. There is no cost to the parent, but it requires a commitment to raise the child with the understanding that they will identify as a girl for life. I'll think about it and get back to you early next week, if that works for you. I'll be out of the office Monday and Tuesday, but we can schedule another appointment for Wednesday if you'd like. That works for me, and thank you for seeing us today. It was my pleasure. When Mrs. Dalton and Daniel left the doctor's office, the lobby had completely cleared, and no one was in sight. Wednesday arrived, and Mrs. Dalton, with Daniel at her side, returned to Dr. Lynn's office. Unlike the previous visit, they waited in the waiting room until they were called in. "Shall we begin?" Dr. Lynn asked. "I think that would be great." "Where should I go?" Mrs. Dalton replied. "My secretary will show you where you can wait," Dr. Lynn answered, then turned to Daniel. "Now, do as the doctor says, understand?" "Yes, Mother," Daniel replied, giving her a hug before sitting down. Once they left the room, Dr. Lynn pressed a button on her desk, and a small camera extended from the wall. "Daniel, please lie down on the couch," Dr. Lynn instructed. "Let's talk for a bit." Soon, Daniel was comfortably relaxed on the couch, in a deep trance, telling Dr. Lynn everything she needed to know. "By the end of the day, Daniel, you will no longer be 4 years old. You will be 1 month old and a baby girl. You will forget everything about being a boy, and you will no longer have control over your body. Your new name will be Michelle Davis Dalton. Do you understand?" Dr. Lynn said. Daniel nodded his head, and Dr. Lynn felt confident in the process. When Mrs. Dalton returned to the room, she, too, was satisfied with the results. By the end of the day, Daniel had transformed into Michelle, a 1-month-old infant. His control over his bladder and bowels was gone. His memories of being Daniel were erased, replaced with his new identity. Over the next few days, life proceeded like it would with any newborn in the house. Then, Mrs. Dalton received a phone call from the camp where Marianne had been sent for the summer. "Yes, this is she." "What did you say?" "I understand I'll meet them at the airport tomorrow afternoon." "Thanks, you too." When Mrs. Dalton arrived at the airport, she quickly located an assistant who guided her to the area where the plane carrying her daughter would be arriving. As she waited, she spotted her daughter walking out of the gate with a counselor, just as the camp's director had mentioned the day before. The counselor introduced herself as Lisa, the head of all the counselors, and suggested they find a more private place to discuss what had happened. As they walked, Mrs. Dalton noticed a young girl fast asleep in a stroller behind her. "I see you've met my other daughter, Michelle," Mrs. Dalton said, noting the confused look on Marianne's face as she overheard the introduction. Marianne followed them quietly, still unsure about her mother's words. Mrs. Dalton glanced sternly at her daughter and then turned to Lisa. "Is it okay if Michelle stays for the day? The plane back to camp won't be available until tomorrow." An hour and a half later, after they had arrived home, Mrs. Dalton noticed a diaper bag that was unfamiliar to her. It wasn't the one she had received from Dr. Lynn's office. Curious to know what had happened at camp, Mrs. Dalton sat down with Lisa to discuss why Marianne had come home early. Lisa explained that it was normal for children Marianne's age to feel uncomfortable when away from home, and such situations were common. She also assured Mrs. Dalton that the camp would refund the $300 deposit for the last 5 weeks Marianne had missed. The next day, after Lisa had left for the airport, Mrs. Dalton and Marianne made a stop at the nearby mall. "Mother, what's going on?" Marianne asked. "We're going to take care of what happened at camp, miss," her mother replied. "But I promised it was an accident," Marianne protested. Soon, Marianne found herself dressed in an infant dress that Mrs. Dalton had packed, along with the Last Love's disposable diaper from Michelle's diaper bag. Wiping the tears from her daughter's face, Mrs. Dalton explained, "If you can stay dry, you'll be able to wear your panties again. But until then, you'll have to wear Huggies pull UPS." They were also there to pick up a package and stop at the baby store for more diapers for Michelle. "Where's Daniel?" Marianne asked. "Have you figured it out yet, darling?" Daniel is your sister. While you were at camp, I found your brother playing with your dolls, and so I made some changes. After finishing their shopping, they made one more stop before heading home. Again, Mrs. Dalton and her daughter, now Michelle, found themselves outside Dr. Lynn's office. Mrs. Dalton pushed the door open, and the receptionist looked up with a smile. "Welcome back, Mrs. Dalton," she greeted. "I called about my daughter," Mrs. Dalton said, glancing over at Marianne, who was still confused about what was happening. Just then, Michelle started crying loudly behind them. Marianne turned toward her mother. "I'll be right back," Mrs. Dalton said. "Sure, the doctor will be ready when you return." "Marianne, stay here while I go change your sister," Mrs. Dalton instructed. Moments later, Mrs. Dalton and Michelle were in the ladies' room. Michelle continued to cry as Mrs. Dalton lifted her daughter's dress and quickly changed her diaper. Once done, they returned to the waiting area just as the doctor emerged from her office. If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel.